And Christina Perkins will end it with her trip to, Kristen Hilvish went to Ecuador, and Christina Perkins is in Nepal. So definitely, like I said at the beginning, have an open heart. I've definitely got an open heart for so far what's came through on the screen and what has been saying to us. And at the closing, we are going to have a video from Maddie Hilvish, and Dave will talk a little bit about that at the end. And so we're going to start off with Jamaica.
Good morning. I just got handed the mic. I'm sorry. Teresa and I were not announced, but we actually did go to Jamaica. We have something we'd like to share with you as well. But the team that we took was over spring break of this year in April. There were 20 of us that went. I'll let them share their testimonies about that. What I would like to share with you, when I was there, Pastor Maxo and his daughter had a vision to start a dental clinic. And I was talking with his daughter, and she said to me, I said, well, I used to be a dental assistant. I used to work for a dentist. And she said, we've been praying for a year for somebody to come. And I had been praying for a year to go. And so I felt like at that moment, God talked to me about going back. So I will be going back to Jamaica, leaving November 30 of this year for 2 weeks in December, serving in a dental clinic, helping little children learn how to brush their teeth, and what we take for granted they may have never known. And so another opportunity to talk to them about Jesus, clean their teeth, give them a toothbrush, and send them on their way. So what I would like is that you would pray for me. I'll be going by myself, and I would appreciate the prayers of my sisters and my brothers in Christ who would hold me up and pray for me while I'm there. And then Teresa would like to share a little bit about our next adventure.
Well, it was definitely out of my comfort zone, and it was the greatest gift that God could give me and my support system and my church and my family. And I encourage anybody who feels led to serve in any way to find a way to serve, because to receive what I received is so much more than what I could possibly give. Mm-hmm. But our next trip is anywhere from the end of June to the beginning of July. We're trying to narrow down the dates, but we're trying to involve and invite as many people as we can.
Okay, so I'm going to read Matthew 28, verse 16 through 20. It says, Then the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. Then Jesus came to them and said, All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I feel like it means to be involved in missions, and then some of the kids are going to give a testimony. It's not about what we can do for others, it's about what Christ can do through us. There were definitely struggles on this trip, from anxiety to fear of flying, to fear of spiders. There was all kinds of things, but all of those things were overcome because when Christ is in the lead, it's not about us and how we feel. Jesus came to the earth to minister to others. His days were full of service. Sorry, I lost my place. For me, it's about the relationships, and it's about loving others. It's not about going over to another country and having all this knowledge about how to build a fence. That's what we did, right? Kind of. We didn't really know how to do those things either. We just came alongside them, and we loved them because Christ first loved us. And without that love, we wouldn't be able to love others the way that we do. So I'm asking everyone to pray about the upcoming trip. Maybe God is calling you to make a difference. If you went on the missions trip before, could you stand, please?
So like Teresa said, the next mission trip is the last week of June or first week of July. And if you are interested in any more information, just go see one of the members that went on our last trip.
Hi. This trip was a great experience for me and everyone else standing up here, but I went over there thinking, oh, we're going to do so much and help these people, but the impact that it had on me was the love that they showed us, and that we were just strangers coming over there to help them, but just the kids and the love that they showed us really made me want to come home and love on everyone else here. So, thank you.
I learned on this trip to serve others with a good attitude, and I got to go on this trip with my dad, and it was just good spending time with him and learning a lot of stuff on this trip.
So I think we all went down. We raised all this money, took a big group down, thinking that we were going to, bless all these people, which don't get me wrong, we did. But I think, like what Megan was saying, it was more of them blessing us. And, we didn't have to do that for them. They knew how to build that fence. They knew how to do all that stuff. But, I think I got more from them than they did from us. And so I think that gave everyone on the team a new vision for when we came home. We all wanted to do something really awesome for our community we live in now. To be a part of a missions team, you don't have to go to different countries or different states. It can happen here. So I think that kind of gave us all a new, fresh vision. And it's great to be out and stuff too. But if you're not able to go, on this next one, I just encourage you just to start it here. It means more sometimes to some people, and it's a little cheaper too.
Yes, that's true. So we have a big shout out, though, to all of you guys who helped us achieve and go on this trip. Yes, it's a little cheaper to do it here than go there, but God does call us to do those things. And so if He is talking to you, even into your children, about being a part of our next trip, I just ask that you just spend some time in prayer with God and let Him talk to you down deep, that you have a desire to go, and then the call comes, and then you obey. And then you fulfill that by obedience, and then you run the race. And if He's called you to do that, you'll know it in your spirit. And we're just asking that that the Lord, He put together this group, and we accomplished things for His kingdom, not for ourselves, but for Him. And we're asking for you to pray with us for our next trip in June of 2019.
Thank you. Let's give him a hand. Sorry, it took me by surprise. I totally spilled my coffee right there and everything. You ever do that when you're trying to get up out of the seat? Really excited to talk to you guys today about Katrina. Man, it was a long time ago, but wow, to see that video is just right up inside your lap right there, and even shed some tears. Way back in the day when we heard about Katrina, was it 2006, right? Yeah. Coming ashore, you just knew bad things were going to happen to those people that couldn't get out in time, and especially if you do some math and know geography, they're right at sea level or maybe below in some places, and so it ended up taking 1,800 people's lives, and one of the most costly hurricanes to ever arrive on our shores. And so I just remember that evening hearing about it coming over. I was listening to WoWo when they were play by play, and I'm just like, man, these people are going to need some help. I got to work the next day and just kind of praying about it and thinking about it. And I can't remember if it was that next day or a few days later, I got a call from Terry West. And he's like, man, there's people are going to need some help. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And so we met and started talking. And he came up with some awesome vision for the trip and something to propose maybe to the elders and a group of people that might be wanting to go. Terry came up with the idea of EPIC. I always love pneumatic devices to help me understand vision, encouraging people in crisis, and just bringing Jesus' love to them wherever they're at, wherever they need help. And the elders, man, they were totally on board with it. Pastor Joey was on board with it, and we're just like, hey, let's take it to other people, see what they're about. 40-some people ended up wanting to go, and it was amazing. So we started raising some money and acquiring more vision, some more training to go down there. Who likes electrical work? Who is into carpentry? He wants to serve meals. Who's a great cook? An amazing trip. And one of the things that Terry has said to me that just really blew me away, and it still does to this day, he says, you know what, when you go on a mission trip, and I'm going to butcher it, so maybe you can correct me. I just got the idea. Okay, maybe Terry, maybe you can correct me. He said you might not get, you might, when you come home, you're thinking it's going to change you. And, it does, and you might be different when you come back, but you said it continues to change you throughout the rest of your life and speak truth into different parts of your life when you most need it. I don't know if I got it. I think I was close maybe to what you're saying. I don't know. It still inspires me to today. So Terry, you're right in however general that was. So I think maybe other mission trip experiences are experiencing the same thing. Even I think about the way it still affects me, that trip. It just birthed so many different things. Operation Foundation, and I think Megan talks about how her trip to Jamaica taught her how to love people here better. It's like I think mission trips do that to you. When you go away and you experience some amazing things and loving people in an interesting way. You come back home and you can love people a little bit differently, a little bit better, and God's love continues to go round and round. So I got some people we're going to interview today. I thought ladies first. Is that okay, Mike? Okay, that's awesome. Or I can go over here. This is a cordless mic, so I can go everywhere. I can go over there, whatever. So we went down there and we settled up with God's Katrina Kitchen, and they were already boots on the ground. They were already organizing. We wanted to just get in there and be as efficient as we could for the time we had. And Terry actually contacted them, and they had an awesome way of serving people and getting jobs together. And so this is a vintage shirt right here. You want to turn around? Yeah, there you go. All right, so that was definitely a memorable experience there. God's Katrina Kitchen. Kathy, there were many memorable things about this trip. What are some things that you'd like to share with us today?
Well, it was the first time I went on a mission trip, and I was really scared to go because I wasn't sure about what we'd meet, what we'd have to do, and but my husband was part of the organization, so I thought, okay, I'll go along. And it was such a fabulous experience. I've never been so hot in my whole life. You take a shower and it didn't even help. You came out just as sweaty as you went in. And I've never been so exhausted as the picture that you saw of me sound asleep. That's exactly how I felt, exhausted. We worked for, 8 or 9 hours in that heat. And but we met the most wonderful people. And my main memory is the kids in the kitchen. We had an ice cream truck, a refrigerated truck that broke down, and we had all this ice cream in it, and it had to be used or it was going to melt. So the kids came up with the idea of making milkshakes. It didn't matter what the flavor was. They put it together. You had no idea what flavor you were getting because it was like 3 different flavors all mixed together. And gave it to these workers and people that came in, and oh my gosh, they just started crying because it tasted so good. It was cold and they were so hot. And they just said, oh my gosh, nobody's thought of doing milkshakes before. And And they just appreciated that so much. And those kids just worked their tails off making those stinking milkshakes. They were scooping that ice cream, and they just did a great job. And the man who was over the kitchen, oh my gosh, he gave such detailed instructions of what to do, and he had every meal planned out, and we just helped him. We just did it. And it was a wonderful experience working with those kids. And then every night we had a worship service that was fabulous. And our group that you saw, they'd lead us in song every night and sing. So it was a beautiful experience.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's amazing to look at those photos and know that when they went on the trip, they were like this, and now they have their own babies. It's so amazing. So there could be so many more people up here, but for the time, and we wanted to be expeditious in our time we have here. And Mike, I mean, just so blown away by the people that chose to go, and I got to know them so much better, and the way God shaped them, and God has shaped you for so many areas of service. Mike, what are some things that just really amazed you when you were down there?
Probably the thing that I remember the most were the tasks that we had to do, the things that we were called to do. Sometimes it was like almost too much, and it was overwhelming. And I remember particularly the hole that Norm Leach and I were digging for a grease pit, and we had to put a grease pit in there and install it, and we weren't sure how we were going to go about doing it. And I remember just being like knee deep in this stinky, terrible water, and it was so hot, and Norm and I kept trying to decide what we needed to do. And there were several times we had to get up out of the hole and just pray and say, Lord, help us to figure this out, because although we're like a jack of all trades and like master of none of them, he gave us and equipped us with the skill to figure out how to do it. And so but there were a couple times I remember too that we felt kind of almost like in danger. So that's why, praying over everything was a good thing, because like I remember Norm got a knee infection as a result of being in that stuff. And then one of the times we were trying to shore it up because everything was sand down there and it was wet. And so we're starting to dig the hole and it's starting to cave in. We thought, well, maybe we better shore it up. So I remember going over to one of the dumpsters and grabbing like it was like a piece of particle board. I drug it over there, and when I flipped it over, there was a black widow spider like right by my hand, and I freaked. And of course, we get a hammer and we're like smashing everything inside. But God was looking out for us, because we knew that there were other stories of people that had come across the same thing, snakes. And in Indiana, you're in Indiana because there's not very many poisonous things, right? But when you go down there, there's things that you don't want to like come across. And I remember crawling through a house that we were kind of stripping, and it was dark and it was dusty, and I'm thinking, okay, there's going to be a snake. Okay, there's going to be a spider. And you know what? Our group was safe the whole time, and it was God. It was God watching out for us. I also remember there was a psychologist. It was kind of their office that had gotten wiped out, and we had to like replace the roof. And so it's like 99 degrees and 100% humidity, and we're working with galvanized steel. And so it was just like we were in a microwave the whole time. And I remember just being so hot. And I don't mean to be gross or anything, but I don't remember going to the bathroom like that whole time, because you were sweating it all out. And it just, you were so drenched with sweat. And then knowing there was a task to be had. And I was so amazed. People worked through unbelievable conditions to finish projects, because we knew we only had so much time. And so I felt like, for me, I wanted to be challenged in an area that I had not been challenged up to that point in my life. But also, I took my 10-year-old son at that time along, because I wanted him to see that this is what you do. You do things for God in a mighty way that you're not equipped to do, but you do it anyway because God is calling you to.
That's great. Thank you, Mike. Let's hear it for these guys. Really appreciate it. Mike and Kathy. Yeah, you're good. I really appreciate it. And also, thank you to all those that went on the trip, that supported the trip. It helped us raise money, get down there, and just really excited about future mission opportunities. I want to introduce J.J. Weimer, who is actually, I think I talked to you a little bit ago, you were saying like 10 or 11 when you went to Katrina? Wow. And you got your own babies. That's crazy. So, tell us about Paraguay.
All right, so hey everybody, that's the team that we went with. Notice Terry West is in that too. He just does everything. So God pushes you out of your comfort zone in a lot of ways. I was not pushed out of my comfort zone to go to Paraguay, but I'm pushed out of my comfort zone standing up here talking to you. So originally the trip was supposed to go in the winter during Christmas break. And so I thought that was going to be perfect because I was a cross-country runner and we ran all summer. And then it changed to the summer. And so I decided I couldn't go. And then that really started to weigh on me a little bit because 2 weeks out of the summer running or 2 weeks, going and serving people in another country. I mean, what's more important? So I did decide to go. I'm really glad I did. You go and you think you're going to serve these people and help these people, and you do. We painted a church and, did a couple other things, but you don't understand the impact that they're going to have on you. And, I mean, the people in Paraguay at the time, there was a lot of unrest. When we were there, their president got impeached. But they weren't on social media and Facebook and all that and talking about politically how bad it was. They were just loving everyone around them and focusing on the positive, and that really had a huge impact on me. There's a lot of things in the world and in the country that you cannot control, but you can control your attitude and you can control the impact you have on people around you. And I draw back on it even now. When I see things on Facebook or when I talk to people, it's like, things are happening in the country and things are happening in the world that you don't really like, but there's a lot of things that our community needs, and people just need positivity in general. So why don't you just focus on the positive and help people? And so that was, like Terry said and like Dave said, you don't realize how much a mission can impact your life. And another thing I really liked was Dana's verse, because, that little kid only had a couple pieces of fish, a couple pieces of bread. There's a lot of people out there that's what they think. They think, well, I can't go on a mission trip because I don't know Spanish, or I don't have the skill to build a church, or I can't sing, I can't do this, I can't do that. But you don't realize what is needed in the country, and sometimes you don't even have to have a discernible skill. Sometimes you make a connection with somebody. Like there was a picture there, and we were playing soccer, and I made a connection with this guy, and he really liked the way I played soccer, and we made this connection, and that made him more comfortable with the missionaries that were already there and helped them build a relationship with him. And I didn't know Spanish. I'm not an outgoing person. I didn't do anything to make him feel welcome, but he just liked me, and that helped build a connection. And so just because you don't think that you have the skill to go doesn't mean that God can't use you if you do go. And so if you even feel a little inkling that you should go out of the country, you don't even have to go out of the country, go anywhere and serve people. Just do it. Don't let that fear that, oh, well, I'm not capable, hold you back. So, and then another thing I want to talk about it's just, we went, I can't remember where it was in Argentina somewhere. We met this couple from England, and they were missionaries, and they were so glad to see us and just be able to speak English and talk to believers. And I've gone on a couple of mission trips in my life, and one of the biggest things that you can do when you go on a mission trip is just help renew the long-term missionaries that are already there. That, you know, because they get to speak in their native tongue, and they just get to relax and hang out with fellow Christians, when a lot of times they're speaking in a language that's not natural to them, and they're always on their toes and trying to watch what they say and keep themselves out of trouble. And so I think that's important. And if you ever go to Paraguay or Argentina or Brazil, you should go to the Iguazu Falls. These are the Iguazu Falls. They're beautiful. And it's one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. And that will have a huge impact on you too, just seeing the beauty that God creates. I think that's it. This time.
Good morning, Stones Hill. I want to start out just by letting you know, I'm going to talk a little bit about SOS, but hopefully you're getting the point here this morning where you're recognizing that you don't have to go to a far-off land. You don't have to go anywhere, ultimately, to make an impact for Christ. And that's one of the amazing things I've recognized over the years. SOS is one of those great opportunities. But we have Operation Foundation here in the summer that you can plug into. You can be a missionary in your community. I remember when I was in my 20s, I was talking to somebody. I think we had come home on leave from the military, and I said, I've always wanted to go on a missions trip, and I wish I could just be a part of a missions team. They looked at me and they said, what are you talking about? Do you recognize that where you're at right now, you're a missionary? Wherever you're at in life, you're a missionary. So don't think you have to go to some far-off land. Don't think that you have to go somewhere. You can be a part of a missions experience without going anywhere. And so with that, we had been praying. In 2010, we took a group down to Hazard, Kentucky. And what a great experience that was. We had an opportunity just to meet some neat people. It was such an amazing trip. But with that, Dave Hilbish and myself, we were kind of part of that planning, and there were a lot of people that planned that. There's a lot of moving elements. But you recognize when you're planning trips, there's a lot of work that goes into that. And so we started praying after that year, where can we go from here? We would like to continue this missions trip mentality. How do we continue this on? And so that led us to an individual who was talking about, hey, have you ever heard of this trip? It's called SOS. It's like, what in the world is SOS? Summer of Service. And so Summer of Service is a missions trip up to Mishawaka area. We stay at Bethel College. We're just a part of that community up there. And basically, if I'm going to explain SOS in any way, it is like Operation Foundation on steroids with a bunch of 600-plus teenagers. So it's just an amazing trip. Now, we're also going to ask for volunteers later, so don't take that as any intimidation. But I want you guys to hear from some of those that get to experience SOS, some that have been there, and what their takeaway from SOS is. So who would like to start? All right, Wesley.
I think my greatest takeaway was the worship. You could just tell that they weren't just playing to play. They really wanted to praise God, and that they were pretty comfortable with being in front of all the people in the big auditorium. And I think it was just very moving how much it affected even them when they were singing. So
my biggest takeaway was probably the service projects, because you do like 2 service projects each day, and each time you do them, you're just impacting a lot of different people, and it's cool to see the impact that you have on them. So.
Well, my biggest takeaway was the speaker he talked about open, how sometimes people are like doors and they're closed to God and religion and all that. Some days are like cracked open, like you might be real, maybe not. And then those that are open, they want to worship God wherever they go. And yeah.
So the amazing thing, SOS, again, if you have no missions experience, this is perfect for you, because honestly, you don't have to have these great skills. Now, not saying that there aren't jobs where you have to utilize skills, but we do a car wash. I mean, anyone can wash cars. Throughout that, there's also people holding up signs. Anyone can hold up a sign. We paint houses. We'll do landscaping. I mean, honestly, these projects are not things that are terribly challenging, but you throw in the mix that you're with individuals from different churches. So you're really stretched outside of your comfort zone, because you're not with those people from your church necessarily. You're experiencing other people. You throw in the fact that this is in the summertime, in the middle of June. You never know what the weather's going to do. The amazing thing is they pray every year that there will not be rain during that time. And everywhere around you can see this, like, rain clouds are there, but it's not where we're at. And so it's just an amazing opportunity. One of the great things with SOS, it is like going to a far-off place, yet it's still here in Indiana. It's like going to a far-off place, yet we're staying on Bethel College campus. I'm going to plug here the fact that one of the things that we really appreciate about SOS is it is such an affordable trip. $75 for students, $35 for volunteers. There's nothing like it. You're getting 2 T-shirts. You're getting your meals throughout the weekend. You're getting to go out and work at these sites. I mean, there are so many elements. There's a speaker that will be there throughout the weekend. There's worship that is just top-notch. All of this, and you're, again, housed at Bethel College. Amazing trip, amazing. And just see God working in some great ways with that. And I'm really excited that we can partner with these churches. And there's, do you remember how many churches, anybody remember how many churches are represented? 20 plus at least. I mean, it's an amazing place where the kingdom of Christ can come together. If you've ever served at SOS, whether you're a student or a leader, can I have you guys stand up, please? So, if you would like more information about SOS, these are the people that you need to speak with. I'm going to close out my time here with a video, maybe. Can we play that? All right. So you guys can go sit back.
I close my eyes and colors fly. There's no hiding from your grace. I can't deny your heart for mine, and it's unrelenting chase. I was on the edge of deception, caught up in my own hesitation, until your love took over me. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. On a waiting, here awaiting, all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive. Oh la la, when I let
things I did not mention, one of the activities we actually do a lot of times is we go to nursing homes. And so that's going to be my final plug here for be a missionary in your own town. There are plenty of nursing homes here. You can go in at any point in time and just visit people. I mean, what an amazing experience that is. And there are some stories out there right now that are going unheard because there are individuals in these homes that don't have anyone that cares to take the time. So I'd encourage you, just step out of your comfort zone in that. Finally, I'm going to say, if you would like to be a part of SOS 2019, it's going to be June 13th through the 16th. I believe it is over Father's Day weekend. It's the Thursday through the Sunday of Father's Day weekend. It's a great experience. I would encourage you. We are in need of some adult leaders. So I really want to make the plug. Again, if you feel like you would like to build into the life of teenagers, this is a great experience, such an amazing opportunity. And I personally have been so blessed, more so by the students that go, I think, than some of the experiences. But it is just a great experience. So I'm going to leave with that. I think Kristen Hilbish is next. All right.
Wow, that light's really bright. Hi, I'm going to speak today about the 2 times that we went to Ecuador. We went on an educational mission. So what our job was to go and educate parents and educators in Ecuador. So I'm so excited that Dana shared that verse because it just fits with what I was thinking that I really wanted to share is that no matter what you do or who you are, and JJ alluded to this too, God will use it if you are available. So growing up, I just wanted to kind of start with saying this is not at all supposed to be about me, but I just want to let you know where God brought me to be able to share what He wanted me to share. So growing up, I had gone on a few missions. I was ready to commit to a full year in Albania at one point, but my plans changed a little bit when I met a certain guy and had a different mission in mind. Raising a small tribe, but so God had prepared my heart with those different things that I had done, stateside and otherwise. Going overseas really opened my heart and opened my eyes to what we have that other people don't have. And I don't mean necessarily cars and clothes and all that. I just mean we have things that they don't have. We have knowledge and we have hope and we have things that other countries don't have. And we just take for granted that we've had those. I've known about Jesus since I could understand who Jesus was. So to me, that was really eye-opening. So all that being said, I'm doing my thing. I'm a speech therapist and I work with children. And I'm working with one family in particular that the wife of this couple is from Ecuador. And the husband, his parents were missionaries in Ecuador. Long story how they met. That's how they met. So we're talking, and they had just really been burdened. Their son has autism, and they had a nephew that has autism that lives in Ecuador. And just seeing that disparity of the services, even when you're fighting to get what you think your child needs here, it's way better. The minimum is way better than what their nephew is getting in Ecuador. And they just felt really, really burdened for that. Like, how can we, knowing what we know and having these awesome things for our son, just sit back and watch these other families struggle so hard. So they asked myself and an occupational therapy assistant to pray about, who are both believers, to pray about going overseas in Ecuador, and Manta is the name of the town, to speak a little bit about autism for the first one. So if you could go to the next slide. These are just some of the interesting things in Ecuador that we saw around Manta. If you can go to the next one. Kind of gives you a sense of we were not in Indiana anymore. So when we got there, we also recruited a friend of mine that I had worked with early on in my career, and she was now an autism consultant. So one of the things that we did, if you could go to the next slide, We went there twice. We went in 2012, and then we took a separate team in 2016. In 2012, you can see the big group of people. We spent half the day educating educators and half the day educating parents. You could be there all day, whatever, but we kind of tried to tailor things to that. This is a culture where special needs children were hidden for a long, long time. Still, it was okay to make fun of people with special needs. Still, it was okay to talk about them as less than real people. So this is why we were going. It was to show them and educate them and make them aware. So this is something I had prayed about for a long time. I thought, doctors go overseas, dentists go overseas. I'm in the medical field. I should be able to go overseas. The only people that were going overseas at the time were people who worked for cleft palate repair, like the Smile Train. You guys may have heard of them. Speech therapists would go for that. But I didn't know anything about that. So that wasn't my specialty. Autism was one of the things I had kind of specialized in. So I was really excited to see that God was using all these years of training and experience finally to do something that my heart had been ready to do for a long time. So this was a big group. We got to go into their special needs school. It's still a separate school. There is no integration of special needs and regular education, which is sad, but also kind of awesome for someone who loves special needs kids, because there were, 150 special needs kids all in one area. But these are some of the kids, and we got to consult with the teachers. In Ecuador, one of the things that's interesting is you go for an education degree, and then the last year of your education degree, of your 4-year degree, you decide whether you want to be a speech therapist, a special ed teacher, a physical therapist, or an occupational therapist. So for us, it's a separate degree, and it's an additional 2 to 3 years in each of those specialties, but for them, it's like they get a year's worth of coursework. So there was still a lot of misconceptions about what autism was. We went to the school one time, and one of the teachers through the interpreter asked me if I thought this child had autism, and I watched her have a seizure, which is different than a typical, it's not a shaking seizure. She fell to the ground, she spaced out, and I said, oh no, she's having seizures. She's not autistic. And I wanted to cry, because then the mother was there, and she started crying because it's an hour and a half to go to a doctor. An hour and a half in a long bus, and you have to get funding to go there, and then you have to wait. And so for her, it was a relief, but then yet still so scary, and there's just a lack of knowledge. So if you go to the next one. Our second trip there, we decided to do a kind of like a health fair kind of thing, and we presented, and we opened it up to more than just autism. We opened it up to teaching about general disability and kind of different areas. We had different tables, and we took a bigger team, and so we kind of all spread out and helped with those tables, and had a lot of people come through that were interested in learning more. The girl in the white and the picture next to the guy with the stripes, she's actually a physician now, so it's really cool to even train future physicians who now will know more and be able to catch those things, so that girl won't have to go 8 years having seizures and no one know. So if you go to the next one. These are some kids from the school the first time, the soccer team, and just a really cute little boy. So we can go to the next one. The second time we do a lot of hands-on projects. We tried to always teach the people that came to our conference, which was 4 days, something that they could make or something that they could do and have before they go. So a lot of those pictures are that. We did individual consultations with providers and with parents. This is our team. They're really heavy on speech therapists there. I brought a couple of speech therapists with me, and our original team from the first time. Is there another one? Okay, there we go. Another thing is that the first time Dave went, and he actually spoke with a lot of the young adults and did a mini conference with them, a retreat, and then we took Madison and Braden with us, and at the time they were 2012, so they were 6 years younger. And then the second time they went, they actually got to lead their own portions. They taught worship to the kids, and a couple of the guys, they did some building projects, and we all helped with that that intro fair, health fair. So when I think about what I had to offer, I'm not good at a lot of things. Some people are good at a lot of things. I'm good at one thing. I know speech therapy. I know everything, not everything about that. I know about that. And that's what I like. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what I'm good at. And I prayed for years about how God could use that one thing. I've served in other things, in other ways, and kind of like what JJ was saying again, just wherever God said, go do this, I would do it. But maybe I wasn't very good at it. But I still was trying to be obedient in that. But this was something that I had prayed for a long time. And we have a wealth of knowledge in our country. We're years ahead of other countries in our understanding and treatment of people with special needs. And I just feel so blessed to be able to use what I know and to multiply it to other people. I feel really selfish if I don't share. And even here, I try to share with my patients and their families and really educate people here. But it's just been really neat to see how God took the first few, times where I would reach out in missions and still throughout sharing my knowledge of Jesus that I've been given. I didn't earn it. People have fed me that my whole life, and I have sought it to an extent. But God has blessed us with that knowledge of Him, and then later to use this other specialized education. And adding on the layer of being able to share Jesus' love at the same time. So I just want to encourage you that maybe you think, I don't know how God could use this XYZ that I have in my life, this talent or this gift. There's always a way, and He'll find it if you pray about it. And you'll be like in your element and super excited about that. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Christina Perkins, and I'm going to share with you guys about my trip this summer that I took to Nepal. So Bill told me he put me last because he figured I would talk the longest, and I'm looking at the time and I'm like, dang it, don't have a lot of time to talk. So, but it was a 3-week trip this summer that I went with a bunch of people that I did not know. And as you can see, we got really close honestly, just after our plane ride over. But my journey to Nepal started 4 or 5 years earlier before this, and it was when I saw a video. It was a video on a long-term missionary who was serving in Nepal, and at the time, I always get really in my feelings, I guess, when I see missions videos, because that's just something that my personality just loves. But at the time when I saw this one to Nepal, I thought to myself, I've literally never thought about this country before. The only thing I know is that Mount Everest is in this country, and how many countries are out there that I just don't ever think about. And so Nepal, a little bit of background on Nepal is that it's right above India, right below China and Tibet. So there's a really big mixture of cultures. It's really predominantly Buddhist and Hinduist. And then there's probably about 15% of them are Muslim. And yeah, this is a map of Nepal. 15% are Muslim, and then less than 1% of the nation is Christian. But since the organization I went through, since they started serving in Nepal 5 years ago, they surpassed China as the fastest growing church. So God is really moving there, and He's really claiming His bride in Nepal. But it is definitely a forgotten nation. And the Himalayas are all along Nepal, and there's people groups who have never heard of Jesus before. They've been worshiping false gods for generations, and they've never heard and have known the one true God or worshiped the one true God. So since there's been a growth in Christianity. The government started, like I came in and the government had started these new laws where you were not allowed to convert to Christianity. And so technically we were not legal in that country. So we couldn't tell people we were missionaries. We couldn't go do like VBS or like be explicit about it. And so it was a really unique trip because it's really, like, Christianity is so new there. And even meeting the Nepali Christians there, they were so like touched and impressed when I said, no, I'm a third generation Christian. Like, my parents and my grandparents were Christians. And so many of them, like, never had that opportunity to learn and be taught who God is, even the Christians there. And so, anyways, if you want to go back to the team slide. So my team, we were not just all from America. There's a Canadian there, South African, England, New Zealand, and then America. And so we were all just a random group of people who came together and who just wanted to serve God and to share the gospel with the people who've never heard the gospel before. And Kristen was just sharing, like, in Ecuador, there's so little knowledge, like basic knowledge on health. In Nepal, there's so little knowledge about who God is. They're out there worshiping, like Hinduism, you worship thousands of false gods. Buddhism, they don't, it's the same kind of thing. They say they don't worship God, but it's like thousands of people, I guess, that they're worshiping, and they have no clue, they have no idea what the true hope is. And so you can go to the next one slide, the map. So we stayed for a week in Kathmandu, that's the capital, and it was really just a lot of worship and training, like how we were going to go out there, what we were going to be doing. And so after that week of training, we took an 8-hour bus ride from Kathmandu up to Pokhara, and then we stayed we were supposed to fly out of Pokhara to Jamsum up there, which is in the Himalayas, and we were going to start trekking from there. But we had a lot of setbacks. This was a trip that required a lot of flexibility because we were going to a place that they had not really sent any teams before. And so we were really just like paving the way for long-term missionaries. And so we went from Pokhara, finally made it from Pokhara to Jamsum, and then if you want to go to the next slide, I forget that's just the food that we ate every single day for 2 meals every day. It's called dalbat. You can go to the next one. I'm not doing this in order. Okay, I just did this one. This is us playing soccer. Like, literally, we would, as we trekked, we'd have to go into villages. We'd pray, like, God, like, how can we reach these people? We didn't meet any Christians on the way. Like, there's no, the biggest thing we wanted was to create connections for the long-term missionaries up there. So what we would do a lot of times, we played so much soccer, play soccer with them. Then the villagers, like, they'd come out and, like, want to talk to us, and then we would share the gospel or pray with them. So you can go to the next one. So this is an instance where we had to be flexible. When most of our team made it up to Jamsum, but 3 people got left behind because the plane, it's like a little bush plane. And they didn't take very many flights because it was monsoon season. So this was an instance where we made a connection with a church. They were the only Christians that our team met. And the pastor of the church, there's like 10 people in the church. He had just got new land, and he just needed all these boulders cleared away and stuff. And so it wasn't part of the plan, but that's just doors that God opened up, and that's part of how we had to be flexible. So that's after we moved a bunch of boulders to clear the land for his church. You can go to the next slide. Oh, that's the pathway. So you can go to the next one. That's me and my friend Jeff. I guess I'll just share some stories now. Jeff and I became pretty good friends, but we are really good friends. We saw this monastery after we had cleared the stones for the rock, and we were both like, oh, we want to go, because we saw these kids playing. And so while the rest of our team was waiting for dinner, we came up to the monastery, and we ended up meeting, we didn't get to play with any kids, but we ended up meeting a monk in there, and we shared the gospel with him. He shared about what Buddhism was, and when we were talking about the gospel, he's like, I've heard of Jesus before, I've seen documentaries on him, and I have friends in Pokhara who, I saw them pray for a man who was blind, and I saw his eyes opened, and he was just at a place in his life. It was really cool because he was at that place where Jesus, you could tell Jesus was moving in him, and he had seen and heard of Jesus, but he had never heard the story behind Jesus. And so you can go to the next slide. This is Salvation Temple. This is a big pilgrimage site for Hindus and Buddhists. They believe that if you, there's all these fountains. If you go under all the fountains, get baptized under all the fountains, then you will be saved. And so that was a place where they told us, explicitly, you do not want to be you don't want people to know outright that you're Christian, because there's just, I guess, a lot of danger in that. But we went and we prayed over it, but before we went, our team prayed, and one person got a picture of a woman named Karma, who was at the gate of the temple, and she had a broken leg, and so we went and prayed for her, and when we prayed for her, nothing happened, and it was really discouraging for me, because what she said was, I've had all these people pray for me, you guys can't bless me, and so that was really discouraging. But you can go to the next slide. I think she's on the next one. Oh no, that was this one, yeah. But God kept speaking to me about Karma. We stayed in this village for a few days. And before I'd left on the trip, he had spoke to me about bringing one of my bracelets, my wedding bracelet, and that I was going to give it to an older woman there. And so I felt like I was meant to give it to her. And so she was a woman, I went back to her. She was actually lived right across the street from me. I went back to her multiple times, and she just opened up so much, and she at the end, she kept asking me to pray for her, and was saying that pray for me when you go back. And she was just so much more open to receiving a blessing from God. And so that was a cool story. You can go to the next one. This was a village we went to. It was the last village that practiced Bon witchcraft, and there's just a lot of just evil there, and they you can see the little holes in the rocks. They're caves that people go in, and they try to be desensitized, and so they close the holes, and you're supposed to stay in there for 40 days, and it's supposed to become a spiritual experience, and it's just really kind of demonic. You can go to the next one if there is one. That's just my friends at a school sharing the gospel with a group of kids. You can go to the next one. And then this is my friend Jeff. I wanted to share on him because he actually committed to going back to Nepal for 2 years, and he's now serving in Nepal for 2 years. He's working in a discipleship training school for Nepalis and anyone else who wants to be there. There's just very limited resources to learning and growing in God there. He met this little old man, and this man loved him. And in Nepal, you don't really have toilet paper. You wipe with your hand, the Nepalis wipe with their hand. And he just kept grabbing Jeff's face, all of our faces, and kissing it, and I don't know. It just he was really happy to have us there, though. I think that might be the last one. Okay, then you can do the pictures. I know it's late, but I just wanted to share, we've been sharing a lot. It's really cool hearing all the stories about mission trips and just what our community is doing. And I love hearing, we can do so much here. When we say, we are not just saying yes to God in the big things, we're saying yes to God every day and in the little things in our everyday life. And we live in a little corner of the world, and we live in such a great community, but we live in such a small part of the world, and there are forgotten nations, there are forgotten people groups all over the world who have never gotten the chance to hear Jesus. And it's so easy to take it for granted, the resources that we have, not just physical resources, but I'm talking about spiritual resources. There are people out there who are hungry for the knowledge of God and who do not have it. If we think these people who are forgotten, they're not forgotten by God, but they're going to hell every day because there are not people who are going out and harvesting for the gospel. And I wanted to read real quick in Revelations 21, it says, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw a new Jerusalem coming out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband, and I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Now the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God.'" God has asked us to be a part of ushering in the kingdom of God. That right there says that the kingdom of heaven is coming down to earth, that God is going to dwell with us. And so we have a really amazing opportunity to be a part of the big picture that God has, that he's at the end of, when heaven comes to earth, we are going to be a part of that glory. And so I would just encourage you guys, even if you don't feel called to going overseas, we are still a part of not just our community in Ligonier, not just the nation of America, but we're a part of the Christian community in the world. And so just open a map and look at a country that you've never even thought about before and start praying for that country. Start looking for ways to send resources or give your time or whatever. But look for the hardest and darkest places in this world, because there are people out there dying every day who have not heard the hope of Jesus Christ. And when something is valuable, Jesus is valuable. It's going to cost us something. And that's why Jesus says you have to lay down your life, because it has to cost you something for it to be valuable. And then the other verse I wanted to share, this is the last thing I'll say. So this is in 1 Corinthians 15:37. It says, "When you sow, you do not plant the body that it will be, but just a seed, perhaps of wheat or of something else. God gives it the body he has determined, and with each seed he gives it his own body. So it will be with the resurrection of the dead. The body that is sown is perishable, it is raised imperishable. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. Sown in weakness, raised in power." So we are talking about the gifts that we have, everything that we have to give, but this is saying that we just throw the seeds on the ground, and God is the one that gives it a body. And so the things that we give in our weakness, in our dishonor, we give a lot of times just because we want to feel good about ourselves, or we want other people to see us. But God raises that body, and He gives it the body. And so really all God asks us to do is say yes to Him in partnering with Him in advancing the kingdom of God. Whatever that looks like, you know what that is. God knows what that is. But whatever He's speaking to you, He's asking us to be a part of ushering in the kingdom of God. And so I just was so thankful that God gave me this opportunity to be a part of this 3-week missions, and just the way that he showed himself faithful to me, that I, in my own ministry at the Crossing, that he just showed that he has his hand on the things that we do and the things that he asks us to do. So, thank you. Who do I give? Oh.
Thank you, Christina. Hey, just want to close the time out. We're closing this out with this, right? Oh, with Mass. Okay. We got a quick video from Maddie from Ball State. I want to make sure to thank you. Thank you, Stonehill, for helping us, reflect back what Christina was saying, to help our children, our youth say yes to Jesus, and help others say yes as well. A lot of times we have to decide where our kids are going to go after they leave their house, our house, and sometimes, they go military, vocational career, whatever. Sometimes they go to college. You try to figure out what college you're excited about them going to. A lot of times we send them to private schools, and a lot of times their spiritual growth is kind of built into the program they have, the curriculum, the chapel services, that kind of thing. When we send them off to state schools, a lot of times we're wondering what will happen. Oh, that's such a party school. What's going to happen to them? I've heard stories about that one. What's going to happen? I've seen stuff on Facebook. You know what happens there? That kind of thing. So I just want to encourage you with some of the things that are going on at schools like Ball State. Marcus Weimer. He's right there. He's one of them. He's right over there. So just think about Marcus. If you have any questions after the video, I'm sure Marcus or the Hillbush family could tell you all about it. Here's Maddie.
Maddie Hillbush here. So I want to talk to you guys about some of the mission opportunities that I have had while I've been at Ball State. What's been really cool is that I've gone to volunteer with SBS, which is Student Voluntary Services, and right now I'm volunteering at a homeless shelter for women and children who have struggled with domestic and sexual harassment, and so every time I go, my heart is super heavy, or very just opened to a lot of the different things that happen in our world, and it's so crazy, and my heart just is broken, and I just love talking to them about their stories and their families and stuff like that. And then I also volunteer through an elementary school, and that's been so fun to be a part of. So the Muncie community has so many opportunities for me to serve too, which is so awesome. And finding a church has been kind of a struggle because nothing is good as Stones Hill, right? But there are also so many different opportunities to serve at all those different churches, and every pastor is so overwhelmingly welcoming, and so are the people there. So that's a little struggle, but I think I finally found one. But anyway, with some awesome friends this year. I've been praying for that ever since sophomore year of high school. So it's been pretty awesome to see how faithful God is and how He's working in my friends' lives as well as mine, and just how God's answering our prayers through each other, which is kind of crazy but really cool. So anyway, God is working through our friend group, which is so cool because when we center our relationships around Jesus, then He allows the Holy Spirit to move, and when we are willing to give up our own selfish ways, or just allow Him to work in our lives, and He does, and it's so awesome. Before I came to Ball State, I was still kind of known as a pastor's kid back at home, and so I was a little nervous to talk to others about Jesus because people would think, oh, she just believes that because her parents believe that, or oh, she just believes that because she's been raised in that kind of area. But here, I'm just a girl who just loves Jesus and wants to tell other people about it, which is so exciting and awesome because it's oh my goodness, so many opportunities. This one girl, her name's Indy, and she is in my art history class, and I sit right next to her, and I met her because I helped her move her bunk bed in when we were all moving in and stuff like that, which is like a crazy way to meet someone. Anyway, she was asking about my weekend, what we did and all this stuff, and I mentioned that I went to a crew retreat, and so I was just talking about like it was really awesome, and so then she was like, oh, that's so cool. I was like, yeah, do you want to come with us sometime? And then she's like, oh my goodness, yeah, that'd be so fun. And so then like just little opportunities like that God gives you like totally blooms into something so crazy awesome that you would never even thought of. And then like she's coming with us now regularly, and she's in our community group, and it's just like so cool to see other people grow in Christ. And it's because that you said yes to Jesus, and you're like, oh yeah, I'll take this opportunity, you know? But on the flip side, there are so many times that like I'm sure I totally missed opportunity. I'm like, oh my goodness, like why didn't I take that? Like that's so awesome. So that's been really cool to see and experience. Same girl, when she went to crew with us that one time, she said that she looked over at our friend group and she saw all of us worshiping together, and she was like, wow, I would love to be a part of that. Like she's like, I want that. Because you guys seem like you guys are close, and you guys are worshiping Jesus together and living a life that's fun and exciting, and like you guys always have a smile on your face, and you guys just love others. And she's like, I just feel like so good when I'm around you guys. And I'm like, wow, well, good news. You can have that too, you know? And it's like, holy cow, like our friend group, when we're centered around Jesus, then things happen, and people see that, and it's like, wow, they want the exact same thing that like we have, and that's Jesus, and we get to share with them. And so those are just little opportunities that are like, oh my word, why didn't I take these before, you know? So I encourage you guys so much, like just go for it, seriously. Like Jesus is gonna bless you in so many ways when it happens, and he shows you so many different aspects of himself when you do that also. So you learn so much about other people, yourself, and Jesus. Like what else do you need? For listening, and I hope that you guys have an open heart and mind as you search for other mission opportunities where you're at now, or around the nations, or wherever you go. And know that Jesus lives inside of you, so you have the power and the courage and the strength to talk to others, even when you don't feel like it. See you guys later.
And after all that's been said, I'm just going to come up and have our closing prayer. So, dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this church. We thank you for those in it. We thank you for the fellowship we have here. We just pray that you would go with us this week and help us to look for those opportunities to share you with those around us. We thank you for what you're going to send our way. We ask this in your name. Amen.